Secrets, cover-ups, corruption. You think you know the whole story? Think again. I've been governor, a Navy SEAL, a fighter. I've heard things that'll blow your mind. And now I think it's time you get the whole story.
Now, the secret government plan to spy on, round up, and imprison innocent Americans.
Anybody that seeks to challenge the status quo could potentially be a violent threat.
Jesse Ventura uncovers a plot to force martial law on law-abiding citizens.
Certainly the involvement of the military is something that's very concerning.
Replace the 50 states with 10 giant prison sectors. Fill up hundreds of concentration camps with people like you and me.
They call them residential centers.
Residential centers with fences?
Because they're designed to hold whole families.
And pull the trigger with a disease pandemic.
There's this massive preparation, literal megadeath.
It's not a fantasy. The wheels are in motion. And politicians are passing laws to steal our freedoms and protect the elite.
I'm here to talk to you about these FEMA camps.
They don't exist.
So why was it put into that bill?
Before it's too late, Jesse Ventura cuts through the razor wire, storms the prisons, and blasts open the American concentration camp conspiracy.
I'm Jesse Ventura, and this is Conspiracy Theory.
Madison, Georgia. Jesse Ventura's investigation of a police state conspiracy has led him here. After weeks of traveling to sites of alleged concentration camps for innocent citizens, he's arrived at the most chilling display of all.
What in the hell is this?
Coffin. It's hundreds of thousands of coffins.
And if they had to get rid of people or dissidents, they got the caskets for it, don't they?
Yes, and we found stockpiles all over the country.
In this conspiracy business, you hear a lot of stories about America turning into a police state. Most of the time, it's only stories. But every once in a while, you get the truth from the most unlikely source. In this case, it was Catherine Bleish, a young woman from Missouri. Look at her. With the teenage earrings, short skirt, she's just a girl, really. Like anyone's daughter or neighbor down the street. Why would anybody bother messing with her?
I found out that an agency in my state had issued a report saying that I should be considered a threat to law enforcement.
Wait, hold on. Let's back up a little. Catherine, who are you? Do you belong to a subversive group?
No.
Have you ever?
No.
You haven't belonged to anything that the government would consider subversive or like the Hells Angels?
No, I was a delegate for the state of Missouri as a supporter of Ron Paul to the RNC in 2008.
They labeled you a subversive, and all you were doing was practicing your First Amendment rights in this country, and you learned they put you on a watch list?
Yes.
Let me get this straight. She campaigns for a legitimate presidential candidate. What's more American than that? Yet she's labeled a threat? Something's not right. I thought we had a constitution that protects against that. Well, fear trumps freedom every time.
Well, it actually involves the Department of Homeland Security and these institutions that have been popping up all over the country called fusion centers. Have you heard of those?
After 9/11, Homeland Security and the Justice Department set them up in cities around the country. Command centers that gather and analyze information from government agencies, police departments, and private sources, supposedly to prevent terrorism. So, These fusion centers are, on the surface, look like a good idea, combining the federal, state, and local law enforcement, sharing their knowledge, sharing their abilities to provide safety to us in case of a terrorist-type situation.
Well, I thought so at first. Then we filed open records requests, got copies of 11 reports. Most of them were political profiling documents, and they profiled all types of ideologies and lifestyles.
I'd think this young gal was putting me on if it wasn't all on the record. These fusion centers have police powers, and centers around the country have been accused of targeting all sorts of people and groups. Ordinary folks who might be pro-life, pro-gun, part of a big church, support a third party, or just attend college. Not terrorists.
I didn't know what a fusion center was. I just knew there was a report that said that I should be considered a threat. I basically dropped everything to figure out what was going on.
When this young lady went out to find why she was being targeted, the powers that be were not polite.
Right, take her pussy, lock her up right now.
I am afraid of this dog. Please do not. Stop. Stop. I'm not
Who'd sick a dog on a girl?
In Missouri, when I showed up to Governor Nixon's office to submit an open records request, I was thrown out by Highway Patrol.
I am telling you, you are to leave this office.
And they fall under the Department of Homeland Security?
Yes, Department of Homeland Security.
Well, it's the old standard. When the government tells you they're going to protect you, get ready because you're going to lose your freedoms.
I hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.
It's that simple, protection and freedoms. I personally would rather have my freedoms and face the danger rather than them making me safe and locking me up. Catherine Bleish left me with some leads and the makings of a real conspiracy. I had my team all over it before I got back to home base.
Yeah, Governor, there are 72 of these fusion centers around the country.
Yeah, and as I understand it, they coordinate information from the CIA to the FBI to the state police as well as the local police.
The biggest problem with all of this is there's no oversight.
And did you know they've been sued? They're supposed to be watching for terrorists, but they've actually gone after protesters.
Yeah, even conspiracy theorists.
Conspiracy theorists?
Yes, even conspiracy theorists. Obama's regulatory czar, Cass Sunstein, has written a paper saying that conspiracy theorizing should be banned altogether.
Obviously, there's a lot more to this. I want to know everything about these fusion centers.
Brilliant. I'm on it.
And get me a flight to D.C. immediately.
Got it.
Everyone had leads to chase. I had a source in the Capitol. Mike German spent 16 years as an FBI special agent, infiltrating terror cells and preventing acts of terrorism before 9/11. A few years after 9/11, he got so fed up with the foul-ups and abuses within the Bureau, he quit. Now he's focused on reining in those fusion centers.
They developed in such secrecy with no guidelines and no oversight, so the public really has no way to hold these institutions accountable.
No guidelines, no oversight, bad enough. But it's what he told me next that really made my blood boil.
Where they start collecting things that aren't necessarily reasonably associated with criminality, that's where problems start. In some programs, even expressing extreme views.
Wait. Who plays God here on the definition of what's an extreme view?
Coming up, Jesse goes after the thought police, and he finds out you better watch what you say.
Law enforcement officials believe that anybody that seeks to challenge the status quo would be a violent threat.
Then, confrontation at the government facility that's gathering secrets on all of us.
We don't watch people, we do watch trends.
But aren't trends people?
And later, the governor exposes a police state prison camp built for you and me.
If this is a residential center, why on the sign does it say you can't bring in anything that can help lead someone to escape? I've seen the lies, the secrets, the cover-ups, and I've had enough.
What's going on? Talk to me.
This season, I'm going to expose things that will blow your mind.
I don't know what that is. I've never seen anything like it.
Conspiracy Theory. All new next Friday at 10 on TruTV. And go online to watch an exclusive interview with Jesse Ventura. You won't believe what he reveals at TruTV.com/conspiracy theory.
Jesse Ventura is beginning to unravel the police-state conspiracy. While his investigators follow leads across the country, the governor is in the nation's capital. He's arranged a discreet meeting with former FBI agent Mike German about the growing nightmare of fusion centers, the government's latest way of gathering information on you and me.
When we first produced a report in 2007 about this, there were 42 fusion centers. Now there are more than 72, so they're growing very rapidly.
What's the reason for the secrecy on their part?
There's obviously a very unfortunate history with police intelligence activities in the United States, particularly targeting political groups. So I think part of the secrecy was to allow this thing to develop before anybody found out much about them.
Okay, who's in charge of it?
That's the best question out there, and the answer is nobody.
That says to me it's ripe for abuse.
Absolutely, with very intrusive powers that the law enforcement have to gather information about members of the public. You have almost no or weak oversight and no way for the public to get any kind of accountability over these institutions.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Open the door! We're gonna bust it down!
While I was speaking with a terror expert, my investigator June was in Austin, Texas. She was there to meet an underground group of fusion center watchdogs. They call themselves Operation Defuse. Their leader is John Bush.
John Bush?
Operation Defuse is a movement of individuals whose purpose is to educate activists and the American public about the growing threat of the fusion center.
So why is it important to defuse the nation?
Well, we're seeing with the fusion centers, law enforcement officials believe that anybody that seeks to challenge the status quo could potentially be a violent threat.
Have there been abuses that you know of?
There have been a number of fusion center reports that have leaked that indicate that, yes, they are targeting groups because of their political beliefs.
They're gonna bust you for thinking. They're here, the thought police. Now you can get arrested for what you believe in, what you buy, what you read, who you associate with.
Right, and they've started a suspicious activity reporting program.
What do we quote and put under suspicious activity?
Some of the behaviors are things like photography, taking videos, drawing diagrams, taking measurements, even expressing extreme views. Originally, the suspicious activity reporting program was directed at law enforcement, so at least they had some training in the law. But now they're actually public programs where they put out videos that show planes crashing into towers and say, you can prevent this by reporting your neighbors.
What's happened when you have gone to investigate these fusion centers?
At the Ohio Fusion Center, we were met with about 4 very big armed guards when we went in there, simply to deliver an open records request. Yeah, this one's really scary. This is the Arizona Fusion Center, and we interviewed this woman right here, and she actually informed us that they run organizers of protests. They run their name through their databases. I asked her if I were to organize a rally, would she run my name through the Fusion Center databases?
Yes.
She said yes. So that's legitimate First Amendment activity.
With a lot of this collection, this suspicious activity reporting, the government takes what they think is a pattern or a profile, and they apply that to you.
To me, Mike, that's as anti-American as you can get.
Right, and it creates a huge chilling effect where people think, I don't want to be involved in politics because I might be spied on. Somebody might suggest that I could be a terrorist because I'm involved with this group.
Profiling anybody and everybody who disagrees with Big Brother. I knew the next step. Only I was hoping I was wrong. Is this a step towards martial law?
Certainly the